May I ask the... No? Sorry. Yeah? May I ask the awardees to come to the front of the stage, please? The awardees to come to the front of the stage. Thank you. Chris Nolan. Chris Nolan from Central Parks Conservancy. Could you join us on stage, please? Chris Nolan.
Hello, everyone. How are you tonight? That's it? You've been locked up for over a year, and that's all you got? Welcome, everyone, to ADA 31 and the Sapolin Awards. It's a pleasure to have each and every one of you here tonight. It's a smaller venue than we're used to, but we're here to celebrate. Oh, and I think I have someone. Weren't you supposed to wait for me?
You didn't go to rehearsal, did you? We had a whole rehearsal. Everyone was there. Where were you?
Don't make me get up. Everybody,
take your time. Take your time.
Mayor,
take your time. Say whatever you want to say.
Is a slight, grayer than me, right? He wants to have long hair, but
wait, did you say grayer?
Yes. Right? Color of the hair.
You know, I just want to say, ever since your hair grew longer and you stopped wearing a tie, have you noticed the commissioners kind of losing that official vibe lately?
Wait.
Yeah, he's getting a little loose, isn't he? Okay, you have a tie. Okay, I feel a lot better.
But it is the end of administration.
No, I feel better that you actually have a tie.
But it's the end of the administration, so I can lose.
But we're still here working for the people.
So the people are important, and today is the 88 Sapolin Awards. We're so honored to have each and every one of you, especially the awardees tonight. I'm going to have the privilege of introducing someone that helped us get through the pandemic with the steady hand and allowed people with disabilities to be represented in everything the city has to offer, our mayor, Bill de Blasio.
Thank you. Well, you don't get to leave. I have to say things about you. I want to say things about you.
So do you notice my podium is exactly like yours?
Okay, Victor Calisi at this point has become mayor of New York City. I think it's quite clear. Let's congratulate him. He's got his own podium, the whole thing. Victor, I really want to say this, everyone. For 8 years now, and a lot of us have been together on different occasions, I've marveled at what Victor has done. I've truly marveled because he brings something beautiful, which is an activist spirit into government to make government work for people. For people. And let me do a show of hands. How many people have had to deal with government bureaucracies and had a bad experience? Bad experience, bad experience, bad experience. Okay. I think that's about 100% of the people, Victor.
And there are actually people in government that have raised their hands.
Yes,
too.
I noticed. The government was well represented in the poll about the government. But the reason I asked that question is it's not supposed to be that way, right? You're supposed to, when you encounter your government, it is supposed to be a place you turn for help, for understanding, for solutions. And that is not always the case. But what Victor has established is the notion that government can actually kick down the door, get something done, cut the red tape, be creative, be open, be informative, be inclusive. That is what he has done, and I think this has been an amazing body of work by this great man. Let's thank him for everything he has done.
Just to let you know, I was the last person to be appointed, and I heard the dog catcher was before I was. Did I say that out loud?
We don't have a dog catcher.
Oh.
That's just a horrible rumor. We don't have that. So, first of all, everyone, happy Disability Pride. We gathered together in pride and enjoy to be together. And the continued fight to make New York City someplace for absolutely everyone. A lot of people here have contributed, the honorees, of course, but I want to also thank everyone in my administration, the members of my administration here, Deputy Mayor Phil Thompson, and so many heads of agencies and folks who have felt it a privilege and crucial to work with Victor and his whole team to keep ensuring that people with disabilities can live a better life in New York City. So thank you to all the members of my administration. Thank you to our partners in government, in different government agencies, and the elected officials who are here. Thank you very much for being such strong advocates. And I know the awardees are each going to have their moment, but I want you to join me in some early rousing applause for the awardees tonight. Transitional Services for New York, the Central Park Conservancy, Total Caption, I-Beam, and they're all great, but I have a special favorite tonight because she is celebrating her 90th birthday with us, Ms. Carr Massey. So, 31 years since the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed. I'm sure some of you here can say what I can say. I know Victor can too, for all of us who got to know Tom Harkin over the years. A righteous warrior for good, and someone who believed that something could happen that I know a lot of his colleagues didn't understand. I know some of them thought they weren't ready, but he used sheer force of will and faith and belief to show the entire United States of America it was time to make a change. And if you spend time with Tom, it reminds you anything's possible. And so when we celebrate each year, to me it is a reminder to aim higher and a reminder to not say no. In this city, I remember when we talked about the idea that we could truly have accessible taxis and for-hire vehicles. I remember the naysayers who said it was too difficult, it was too expensive, it would take too long. If we listened to them, we would have gotten nowhere. But New York City now is an example to this whole nation of what accessible transportation needs to be with those taxis. And we are proud of that. If you go on NYC Ferry, one of the newest contributions to getting around New York City, NYC Ferry is accessible the way it needs to be. It could be done. Every time they say it can't be done, the answer, in fact, is it can be. There is always a way. And now, I know we have our colleagues here from the MTA, and I know they do good work. And I just wanted to help them to raise the bar, so I sent them Victor Calisi. just to be a little helpful conscience. Anytime they might have thought, aim a little lower, Victor's like, no, aim a little higher. And because Victor is there, more is happening. More is happening and more can happen. And thank you, let's always give our thank yous. Thank you, Nancy Pelosi. Thank you, Chuck Schumer. Thank you, Joe Biden, for sending us the resources to make our subways more accessible. And one more point I want to raise. There aren't a lot of other rights if you can't afford to live here, right? We can talk about how great this place is, how much we love it, but if you can't afford to live here, it doesn't do a lot for you. And so one of the things we focus on is building and preserving affordable housing. And here's another lesson, that when they tell you it can't be done, it can. Beginning of the administration, we said we would build or preserve 200,000 apartments. 200,000, enough for almost 700,000 New Yorkers. And many, many people said it was impossible. One person who was highly respected said to me privately, Bill, that is this close to insane that you could ever reach that goal in 8 years. As of today, we have built or preserved 194,000 apartments, and we will have 200,000 by the time this year is done. And with a preference for New Yorkers with disabilities to make sure people can live in New York City. So once again, when they say it can't be done, it can be done. It just takes more work, more activism, more energy, more working together, and more opportunities to set the bar higher. Now, I want to do that right now, because when it comes to the work of serving the community, the governing document goes back to 1990, an executive order, and it's a good executive order. It started this office, but it needs to be updated. It needs to be supercharged. We got to give this office the full strength it needs. We got to codify this month as Disability Pride Month. We've got to make sure that for this point forward, whoever leads the office is known as Commissioner, because that is a title of great respect and influence, Victor Calisi.
And thank you for that, by the way.
Well, you wear it well. Even with your new extravagant long hair. But
it's not a midlife crisis.
It's
My
right.
wife told me to do it this way.
No, anyone who says it's not a midlife crisis, okay? It is a midlife crisis, but that's okay. You do wear it well. You wear it well. Tonight, I'm going to sign Executive Order 73, updating and further empowering and modernizing and supporting the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. I'm not going to do one of those Donald Trump things where he admires his own signature. I'm just going to tell you I signed it. Victor, isn't it lovely?
That it is. That it is.
Okay, I'll show it to you. Okay.
Did you spell it right?
Everybody, I'll finish with this point. We all are in the midst of fighting back COVID one more time. It is a prolonged situation. We all wish it was over. It will be. We're just going to have to fight a little bit harder, but look how far we've come. I want to say a profound thank you to everyone, because it took all of us together to overcome the worst of COVID. A little more to do, but we will get there. The bottom line is we need to focus on recovery. We need to focus on a recovery for all of us. I love New York City, but I don't want to go back to pre-COVID New York City. I want to create with you a fairer and better New York City. A New York City for all of us. And we can do it. We've proven we can take on extraordinary challenges and prevail. So everyone, if you ever feel a little tired, if you ever feel a little worn down, just look around you. Look around the great people here tonight. Look around at people who have fought every good battle and won so many times. Keep the faith. Believe that we will keep moving forward. There is no stopping this community, and there is no stopping New York City. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, my man. As always, appreciate it. I like your banter. Yeah, I love that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, just make one photo up. Photo op? Yeah, yeah, of course, stand up.
We're getting organized.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, come in.
You all get next to the mayor, so you get a good shot.
Congratulations.
Yeah, let's help with. How's this?
Got it?
Yep.
Okay.
Does that work? I don't feel short at all. Car, I'm gonna pull you right here. Wait, we gotta get. It's all about car. I'm locking your car. Right? So you got cameras. Right in front of your car. Just smile.
Okay. Great. Excellent. We did that very well. We were very organized.
She wants to go to a Yankees game?
Yeah. Where's Martha? Take care, Mr. Mayor. Great to see you. All right. Hello, everyone. Next, I'd like to call up Robert Hammond from this is the Highline. Robert. There you go.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Robert Hammond. I'm the co-founder and executive director of the Highline, and I'm really excited to welcome Mayor de Blasio and Commissioner Khaleesi and the MOPD and all of you to celebrate the Sapolin Awards. It's our pleasure to share this space with you today. The ceremony is an example of the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities' years of work to establish community connections and formulate public-private partnerships. We're excited to partner with the MOPD and related companies to bring the community this event today. New York City is more accessible than ever thanks to the efforts of Mayor de Blasio, Commissioner Khaleesi, and the MOPD staff. Through the years, we've looked to the MOPD and the Commissioner specifically for insights on making the Highline truly more accessible, because I think when we opened, we felt it was accessible, but what can we do more at each stage? And in fact, in 2017, we were recognized with the Sapolin Award for our commitment to accessibility in our operations, public programs, and our other efforts. This is due to our close, long-standing relationship with the Commissioner and his staff, who previously was with the Parks Department, and consulted with us on the design of our walkways and multiple access points throughout the mile and a half of the park. The Commissioner has also been instrumental in helping us develop programmatic partnerships with artists with disabilities, increasing our communication to those who are differently abled, and it's an honor to have worked with them for so many years, and we look forward to continue working with them in different ways. And now I'd like to introduce the Deputy Mayor for Strategic Initiatives, Phil Thompson, who oversees MOPD as well as Workforce Development and is co-chair of the Task Force on Racial Inclusion and Equity. We're excited to have you back at the Highline and are grateful for your continued leadership. Thank you.
Good evening. So I want to say a couple of things. One, people with disabilities are the biggest minority in New York City, and maybe the most important minority in New York City, because there's barely a family in the city that doesn't really have to deal with, you know what, somebody in my family can't ride on the subway because it's inaccessible. and going down 3 stops to find, an accessible subway is just not real. It's something that touches everybody. I was raised by a woman who raised me. When my dad died when I was 7, my mother became disabled when I was 9. And, she raised me, and I think she did a pretty good job, And people with disabilities can do anything. Really, you just have to, not put obstacles in their way, and think a little bit. And when you look at what the advocacy around people with disabilities have done for other people, when I see these curb cuts that people with disabilities fought for, 99% of the people who use the curb cuts aren't people in wheelchairs. They're people pulling heavy luggage. They all benefit from those curb cuts, right? So when we think about and stand up for people with disabilities, we are really helping everybody. So anyhow, this is a cause we're fighting for. And Victor Calise fights for it. He keeps everybody on their toes, as the mayor said. And in that vein, let me just say what the mayor just did about making this office, an official office, is empowerment. That means it's here to stay. That means the issue's not going away. And so I want to thank the mayor, but a lot of credit goes to this man right here. Last thing I want to say is, I have never had a meeting with Victor in which we didn't laugh through, next to the last thing I want to say. I've never had a meeting with Victor in which we didn't laugh through half the meeting. And meeting with his team is actually always fun. And Victor makes it fun. We can fight for justice and also laugh while we're doing it, right? And Victor has shown us, how to do that. One other person I want to shout out is John Farmer, the head of our Chief Technology Office. He's in the back here. I'm calling him out because there was an announcement today. New York City, with John's leadership and support of the mayor, is expanding broadband access affordable to hundreds of thousands of people across this city. And as everyone knows, when you don't have access to broadband, and when you're, a person with disabilities, it's hard to get around, being able to get online is actually critical. Or get a job online or work online is actually critical for your well-being and survival. John Farmer understood that. He pushed for that. Victor understood that. He pushed for that. And that's another thing I just want us all to celebrate together, that, we are making New York City more accessible, more open for everybody. So thank you very much.
All right, everyone. Well, happy birthday, ADA. Thank you, Robert Hammond, the Highline staff, for making this happen tonight. It's great to be in this facility, and we appreciate all that you have done tonight. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Thompson, for giving us autonomy and having us guide the city to be more accessible for people with disabilities. And I'm grateful for your leadership. I want to take this moment to thank the Mayor's Office with People with Disabilities staff. Can you please raise your hand, staff members? We have been together for over 9 years, and those 9 years have been rough, and those 9 years have been fun, and I've challenged them every step of the way, and they've delivered on every step of the way. And they haven't at any one point said no. I pushed for bigger programs, they gave me bigger programs. I pushed for bigger ideas, they gave me bigger ideas. Every step of the way, they were there. And I'm not sure what I will ever do without them. And I want to thank them for all the hard work. Please continue whatever role you're in next, and remember me as you move forward and become great things. Thank you, staff. One thing I've realized since I've had kids, is how much I actually learned from them. I got my daughter, Sophia, over there in the yellow dress somewhere. My daughter, Lola. And boy, you want to talk about challenging people. Oof. Yeah, if anybody has teenage daughters, you know what I'm talking about. But they've been great, and I've learned a lot, and I continue to learn a lot, and I can't wait to see them grow into beautiful women, powerful women that get things done. And a lot of that they learn from their mother. My wife, Susan, over there. Go ahead, Sue, raise your hand. Yeah. She has certainly been amazing. And what's been interesting is the COVID time, right? Yeah. People, you can start laughing about the COVID time. It's okay. Being with your partner for all that long and then realizing that, you know, when the shade falls in the house, how horrible that is because you have to have someone come in the house and actually fix it. But we were together during that time, and I've got to know her in a different way. And I kind of miss some of the times that we've spent together now that the city is coming back and we're moving forward. But I want to say thank you, Susan, for your partnership, and I look forward to more years. Thank you for the Mayor's Office of Special Events for actually putting this event together at the last minute. It literally was the last minute, and everyone got their invitations at the last minute, but we were able to pull it together. So thank you. And I think another group of people that I have to thank is important to me. Some of you may have known, or will know now, that before my injury, I was a blue-collar worker. I come from a big blue-collar family, and that family has really shaped me into the person I am today. And after I was injured, I'm no longer a blue-collar worker, but I aspire to be. But the people that actually put this event together tonight, the DCAS team led by Tommy Malley, and the sound by Mike Masano, and all the staff that put here tonight, they're extraordinary. They came in and said, Victor, we're going to put this together. Those blue-collar workers have saved us for so many things, and I want to thank the DCAS team, so please thank them with me. And tonight we have Contento here, disability-owned, disability-run restaurant. That's right. They are catering our event tonight, and we're so honored to have them here. Go check them out, and a little plug, East Side, 111th Street between Madden Park. Go check them out. Great restaurant, and fully accessible, by the way. And people with disabilities can sit at the bar. Right? Yeah. So this is our last Sapolin Awards in this administration. And it's been a tough 16 months. But I am so glad to be back in person. And we've moved to make sure that we've included people with disabilities in all our responses. In our meetings, all our virtual meetings are accessible for people with disabilities. We sent out tons of protective equipment. And if you still need some, we have it. Let us know. Food insecurity, we made sure that people with disabilities were represented in that. Transportation, of working with our Access-a-Ride partners and making sure that we had safe rides to and from appointments, making sure that people that had COVID had the right ride. So thank you, Craig Cipriano and the team there you go, Craig, thank you, at Buses, and Don as well for all the work that they did in making that happen. We've made our maps accessible so people can get to where they wanted to. Our vaccine finders, our websites, you name it, we were doing everything we could because we knew people with disabilities need to be represented in everything the city had to do during this COVID response. Now, our office has accomplished many things, and I guess this is my last run at telling you exactly what we've accomplished. Prior to me coming to the mayor's office, I was the disability service facilitator at the Parks Department. And we work to make parks accessible. And if I look at what Parks Department has done in their design and construction and their codes and standards that are out now, they go above the ADA in everything they have to offer. We're looking at their programs, their beaches, their parks, their playgrounds, their recreation centers. Extraordinary things to make sure that our public spaces are accessible for people with disabilities. When we look at waterfront property, there is nothing that is being built today that does not come through the mayor's office for people with disabilities. And we look at that waterfront property, and we ensure accessibility goes over and beyond ADA codes and standards. When we're talking about ways for flood mitigation for our city, we're ensuring that anything that's being built, any walls, any berms that are being built, that they're accessible for people with disabilities. We've made sure that we've identified disabled-owned businesses, and they are getting contracts with the city. The mayor talked about our taxis. That wasn't just fought by the city. That was fought by advocates. It was a long fight, and we finally got it. And we need to get it better, and we need to make it better in every step of the way, making sure that everyone's included and can ride those taxis. I'll never forget the fight on the inside. I'll never forget the fight on the outside. But we learned from that. And when we had to make the for-hire vehicle sector, those ride-sharing companies accessible, we used every city lever that we could. And that was making sure that any new vehicles that come on the street are only wheelchair-accessible vehicles, which has amounted to thousands of accessible vehicles on the street. We have our NYC at Work program, public-private partnership to employ people with disabilities. Extraordinary work. And we've had many partners that have been able to do that. And they are here tonight, and we thank them for their assistance. Just to give you a little overview, we connected 2,300 individuals to support services. Over 12,000 of them are currently enrolled in our NYC at Work program. We've connected 400 people with disabilities to jobs with real pay and real benefits. The average salary is over $50,000. That's extraordinary. That's the type of work that our NYC at Work team does. I'm proud to have them, and please continue to push things forward. Our digital accessibility, ran by Wale Sabri and Arthur Jacobs, have done some amazing things to make sure websites are accessible, to make sure content's accessible, and from social media to apps, and we continue to do that. Extraordinary things, and we only get better as we go along. I want to talk about our text to 911. We finally implemented a text to 911 system so people who are deaf and hard of hearing, people with speech disabilities, and people in domestic violence now have access to that service with over 21,000 texts today. And as we look at next generation 911, we will include even more. We work with the Schubert Theaters and Paul D'Antonio to make sure that we are adding on-time captioning and audio description in Schubert Theaters. Great things to be able to happen. We've added American Sign Language Direct, and people who are deaf can actually get city services and get a live interpreter. No other city has done that the way we have. We're finding ways to tackle the digital divide, as we did with John Farmer and what he's been putting together excuse me, I'm getting a little parched up here, with his release today, and making sure people have access to the internet, making sure we can get computers to people who come through our NYC at Work program. When we switched to virtual meetings, we put out guidelines so people with disabilities can understand that, and accessible schools. We've done a lot. Schools were not built with people with disabilities in mind, but we've connected and allocated hundreds of millions of dollars to schools, and school accessibility, which is related to online places where people can find out what schools are accessible, the level of accessibility, and a kid with a disability now has a choice to go to any accessible school of their choice as long as they meet those requirements. Those are extraordinary things. That's the power of MOPD, and I am so glad of our office. Thanks. And none of this was done in a bubble. We consulted people with disabilities along the way, advocates for children, independent living centers, and everything that we can do. So I am grateful for the challenge that all of you and advocates have put forward to me, because you've made me better. And one of those people that made me better was the great Edith Prentice. Edith Prentice was the best. She passed away, for those of you who may not know. She was balanced. She found a way to humiliate me just enough to know how to get things done. She worked with me. She pointed me in the right direction. She included me and made sure that I included the voice of people with disabilities every step of the way. And nobody was as good as her, and I miss her dearly. And her legacy needs to live on in each and every one of us. And I challenge advocates here tonight to challenge your inner Edith, right? We have done so much to set up New York so we can work side by side with each and every one of you. Some of that example is working with council members and working with Council Member Helen Rosenthal. And she put forward many bills, and she's here tonight, right? To represent people with disabilities, disability service facilitators, meeting guidelines, loop systems within the city of New York. Extraordinary things. And when I'm talking about pushing things forward, we have a new group of council members coming in, right? And we need to be able to work with those council members and affect those council members now as they decide that they're going to take office, and make sure that disability representation is there. Because policy is the way to get things done. Making sure that you push the mayor's office with people with disabilities. Making sure that you push agencies to do that. I challenge you to make sure you work with the next administration and move things forward. We've given advocates a roadmap, and that's Accessible NYC. And that Accessible NYC was codified today, and every mayor's office with people with disabilities will have to move that forward. And that roadmap should certainly push the next administration forward, but hold them accountable, just like you did. The reason we put Accessible NYC together is because you challenged us. We needed to show what we were doing in the city of New York that truly represented people with disabilities. So I'm going to end there tonight, but the last thing I want to say is that we can make New York City the most accessible city in the world. That's what we've been doing for the last 9 years, and we can do that because we're New Yorkers and we get things done. Thank you. Sorry, I had to take some water. So, on to the awards, everybody. Our first award is the Employment Award, and it's going to Transitional Services of New York, also known as TSINY. TSINY is a community-based mental health organization based in one of the greatest boroughs, Queens, right? Where's my Queens people? There we go, there we go. Right, there we go, right? Assemblymember Weprin, right? There we go. He knows them well. He knows all the hard work that TSINY does because they're in his neighborhood, and he represents them. And it's led by Larry Grubler, who is also a Queens native, right, Larry? Absolutely. And Larry, you better be a Met fan. You better be a Met fan. And the great thing about working with TSINY is the fact that they respond quickly. They respond quickly to emergencies. They respond quickly to our needs. That's the type of the organization that we want to work with because they collaborated with us on our NYC at Work workforce initiative, hiring individuals with lived experience as part of the TSINY staff, and they've even hired someone from our MOPD staff. And we've created internships and entrepreneurial ventures helping transition those with mental health disabilities into the world of work. So let's take a moment to honor TSINY, and we can bring up the award. That'd be great. All right, great. So over here, Ave, you want to come up? Oh, all right. Right here. No, Larry, in the middle. You're in the middle. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate it. Our next award is the Public Service Award, and that goes to the Central Park Conservancy. The Central Park Conservancy is the crown jewel of New York City. Their mission really is to make sure that is to preserve and celebrate Central Park as a sanctuary for the pace and pressures of city life, enhancing the enjoyment and well-being for all. Now, if anything was more important than family during this pandemic, it really was open space. Open space was key. I know that we used the Conservancy in every way, shape, and form that we could. And prior to me working for the mayor's office, I worked for the Parks Department, as I mentioned earlier. And I had the opportunity to meet the landscape architect. And him and I had lots of conversations about accessibility, and I really didn't think he got it. I really didn't think he got it. And one day, he was working on making sure he put some accessible swings in for some kids with disabilities. And he came to me, and that was the aha moment. And ever since then, I've seen the Central Park Conservancy do so many accessible things. They're looking at their playgrounds. They're renovating their spaces. They continue to add accessibility over and beyond the ADA codes and standards. They develop locks into their playgrounds where it's easy for people with less hand function to be able to open them correctly. Just little minute things that people may not see. And I'm so proud that the Conservancy was able to get that. And their deep commitment to making the park, its playgrounds and programs accessible for people with disabilities is really something that I'm excited for. And here to accept that award is Chris Nolan, Vice President for Capital Projects and Chief Landscape Architect. Chris?
Park has actually never looked better. I grew up next to Mulberry Gardens.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, total captioning is our public accommodations. Now, Public Caption is a national recognized real-time captioning agency and certified women-owned business. And just for the record, they're providing the captioning tonight. Yeah. They provide CART, real-time captioning in workplace, businesses, and schools, thereby making these spaces more accessible for people with hearing loss. I have been tested in a lot of ways, and I remember Superstorm Sandy. And when Superstorm Sandy hit, we did everything that we could to make sure that we had an American Sign Language interpreter at the mayor's address. And I remember being so proud of that. And when I was able to do that, we were talking about it, and I was talking to a person with hearing loss. And that person with hearing loss is Tony Ialuccio. And Tony looked at me or emailed me and said, Victor, ASL is great, but you really need to be able to provide captioning. And we've done everything we could to make sure that we've added captioning in every step of the way. And they put us up on to Lauren Schechter, who is the co-founder and owner. And she is the most, what we could say, the most sought-after captioner in all of New York City. That everything we do has to happen to have Lauren there. So Lauren is amazing. Sometimes she can't keep up to my quick pace. That's how come we got someone else to do it tonight. Give it to the deputy mayor. And she's here to accept the award on behalf of Total Captioning. Lauren? So when we're looking for accessible technology, we want to make sure that we do it everywhere. And the next award is for communications and technology to I-Beam. They're a Brooklyn-based nonprofit that provides space and support for the community of diverse, justice-driven artists, particularly artists that engage with technology. Over the past 20 years, I-Beam has provided financial support for over 500 artists. In recent years, especially since 2017, they have made a particular commitment to supporting artists and audience members with disabilities. Starting in 2020, they have provided captioning and ASL interpretation for all virtual programming. They include money in their budget for other accommodations, such as providing transportation to venues for their in-person events for people with access needs. They have projects such as Alt Text as Poetry, a multi-year exploration of poetic potential, poetic potential of image description. Sorry. They have a rapid response for a better digital future. And it's a fellowship which was launched amid the pandemic and featured the cohort that included 9% of artists who identify as having a disability. And accepting the award for I-Beam is Jay Soto, Manager of Programs and Inclusion. And I noticed I saw the great Gail Brewer, right? All right, Borough President Brewer. We love Gail. Gail was probably, one of the biggest advocates for people with disabilities, and she continues to think about us every step of the way. Gail, thank you for everything that you do. All right. As a windstorm seems to be coming in, I saved the best for last, right? Everybody loves Car Massey, right? Now, Car Massey is getting the Frida Zames Award. And the Frida Zames is a woman that I never had the opportunity to meet, but I heard she was powerful. But I don't know if she was as powerful and such a big advocate as Car, but I didn't know her. But I've heard some great things about Frida. I wish I had an opportunity to meet her, but I didn't. But I do know Car Massey. And she is beloved by New York City and the disability rights movement. She is part of it. She is the disability rights movement in New York City. She began her career in the 1960s at Courage, Inc., a disability self-help organization, before joining Disabled in Action. She twice served as DIA's president and remains active there for a half a century. She co-founded Metropolitan Chapter of the National Paraplegic Foundation, which became the Center for Independence of the Disabled New York, also known as Sydney. She was president of the board of directors of the Brooklyn Center for Independence, BCID. She worked at the Russ Institute in the occupational therapy program at NYU, and for 6 years ran the Networking Project, a mentor-mentee project for young adults with disabilities based at 53rd Street YMCA. And maybe you know this or maybe you don't, but she is a keeper of New York City disability history. She has a treasure trove of literature and memorabilia, and she played a critical role in creating the first and only exhibit of the history of disability and disability activism in New York City. So I want to thank Car for that. All right, so it is her 90th birthday, right? And Car, I know you didn't have the party that you wanted to have, and I know that we weren't able to get together, but I hope that you think this is your de facto party. You know why? Because we do, Car, have a birthday cake for you. And it's on its way. It should be here any second. Yeah, they're carrying it over. But before we do that, I want everybody to start singing Happy Birthday to Carr. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Carr. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Yep. Carr, at these awards, we never no one ever says anything. But since this is the last one, it's all about you. Come on, Carr. Come on up.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. I just want you to know, and I cry all the time. Anybody that knows me, I always cry. I just want you to know my sister changed my life. When she wanted to pursue a career in the theater, that's when we moved to Manhattan. And that's when I met other disabled people. I was the only disabled kid on the block in New Jersey. I never saw disabled people. But anyway, I met them and I found out what they were fighting for and what they represented. So I said, this is what I have to get involved with. I stopped crying because my mother used to take me places and they would say, no, you can't take her in here. She's a fire hazard. So, you know, imagine a kid growing up with this in your head. So when I found out that we had to fight and protest for what we believed in, that's when I became an activist. I found my niche, and it became my passion. Also, when I ran the program that Victor had mentioned, I did that for 6 years, and I made it an empowering program. And I've seen some of the young ladies, how they progressed through the years, which makes me very proud because I was an influence on their lives. That was my second passion, the program. So I found my niche there also. So what I want to say to you is, have a passion in your life. It gives you a reason to get up in the morning and do something, and you will never be bored. And just the way people paved the way for me with the civil rights movement, I feel I've done the same for others. So I want to leave you with this thought. Don't ever, ever stop fighting for what you believe in. Thank you, and I'm so glad for this award. Thank you, Victor, for allowing me to speak.
Let's take a look.
We gotta take our picture.
Let's take the picture. Hold up. All right, Carr, bring the cake over, guys. Right?
Oh,
yeah,
a
yeah.
birthday
Your
cake!
birthday cake.
Oh my God!
Ready? Carr, ready? Let's hold this. Let's take that. You got that?
This has been a great evening, believe me. I didn't expect this.
All right, we got the birthday cake. All right, guys, bring the birthday cake.
Oh my God! Oh dear Lord.
There you go, Carr.
Oh,
Happy birthday, Carr Massey.
Happy birthday.
I never thought I'd live to be 90. Believe me, I have no secrets.
All right. Happy birthday, Carr.
Happy birthday, Carl.
Oh,
Thank you, guys.
Sorry, Carl.
it's so beautiful. Oh, well, I'm gonna taste.
Yeah, we're going to eat.
Yes, sure.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, we got that gentleman.
So beautiful.
Let's hear it for Carr, everyone. Let's hear it for our awardees. And happy birthday, ADA. I look forward to the next 31 years. Have a good night, everyone. That's a wrap.